What if I told you the money in your super could be funding some of the most controversial and destructive weapons of war? That the billions of dollars invested on your behalf for your retirement by giant super funds could be helping to make things like nuclear weapons. As conflict spreads around the world, pressure's been mounting for institutions to stop investing in weapons companies. What you might not realise is that your money might be invested in controversial weapons, even if you've chosen a super fund with an ethical option.
I'd be a bit shocked, actually. I think it's pretty shocking to pretend you have an ethical or sustainable fund and be investing in nuclear weapons companies.
But we've been following the money, and when it comes to funds that sell themselves as sustainable, ethical or socially conscious, things are not always what they seem.
Super funds have been forced to disclose their investments since 2022, so we have heaps of information about where your retirement savings are going.
But the information can be overwhelming. We needed to find a way to make sense of it.
First, we made a list of all the super funds with ethical options, which promise not to invest in controversial weapons like landmines or cluster bombs.
Then we went and downloaded all these funds' individual disclosures, basically spreadsheets listing everything they invest in.
And from that, we created one mega spreadsheet with all their investments,
which we then used to compare the fund's investments to their promises.
The question is, are they keeping their promises? Let's start with Australian Retirement Trust, or ART.
Australian Retirement Trust, right. Big, isn't it?
It's the fund with the second largest number of members in the country. Their Sydney office is up on level 29 of this building.
Its socially conscious fund promises not to invest in companies that make depleted uranium weapons, but we've found they have holdings in one that does.
The company is General Dynamics, which makes the PGU-14B.
It's a 30mm shell designed to rip through tanks, and experts say it contains depleted uranium.
So it's toxic. You have to prevent it from getting into your body, into your immune system, into your blood. It may take, again, years or decades that the cancer will come up, but it may happen.
We asked ART to explain. They said they didn't actually buy the shares, but were given them as a security for a loan.
And ART say they've stopped the arrangement anyway.
Look, funds need to be absolutely crystal clear with their consumers about the basis on which decisions are made and how they're screening different companies. And if they do find something that's not in line with what they're telling consumers, they need to rectify that immediately.
We also looked at the socially aware option offered by the country's biggest fund.
Thinking about retirement? Australian Super is here to help guide your way as the country's most trusted fund.
Australian Super's Sydney office is on level 16 of this building. It promises not to invest in some controversial weapons companies through its socially aware option. But they only exclude landmines and cluster munitions. We've found it has millions of dollars invested in companies that make nuclear weapons. It makes up the vast majority of controversial weapons investments we discovered, including Northrop Grumman, which is making the United States' new ballistic missile an upgrade to their nuclear arsenal. We asked Australian Super why they made this investment. They said it was in the best financial interest of their members, but they also said, as part of regular internal fund processes, the socially aware option is currently being reviewed. There's no agreed industry-wide definition of what a controversial weapon is, which some experts say is part of the problem.
Oh, it's a dog's breakfast, it really is. There are many weapons that are highly problematic, and I wish there was a global definition of controversial weapons. Who's got the time to go into the fine print of your super fund?
But we've been guided by independent analyst Morningstar, which does define nuclear weapons as controversial. And we've found several other ethical and sustainable options that invest in controversial weapons by Morningstar's definition, including Rest, Mercer and Spirit Super.
These super funds all say they're not breaking any of their own promises or rules.
But overall, we found sustainable or ethical branded options hold more than $27 million worth of shares in companies which Morningstar define as controversial.
But while customers who've selected an ethical option might be surprised to learn their money is invested in these weapons, it has been good for their returns.
The share prices of many weapons companies have surged since the start of current conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza.
So while putting your super in an ethical option might feel like you're sending a message with your money, there's no guarantee you're being heard.